She's the definition of a survivor. And when you hear her story, you're going to understand why she brings the energy she does to every event you'll see her at. Today on the Stories Behind the Door podcast from the storage manager, pleased to welcome Sydnie Wilda. Over a year, I've been trying to get this person onto the show. Really excited to dive in today. Before I go into the conversation with Sydnie Wilda, I'm going to give a shout out to my friends at Kiwi 2 Construction, Wayne Woolsey and his crew. Over 20 years of providing steel structures in the self-storage and small bay flex industries. The go-to if you need steel for a ground-up development project. You can reach out to them at kiwiconstruction.com. Sydnie, welcome to the Stories Behind the Door podcast. So excited. As I said, I haven't asked you for a year, but I met you early 2024. We were out in St. Louis, a Toy Storage Nation event. You came right up to me and introduced yourself, and you just have an energy about you that I find infectious. Obviously, I've seen you many times at various trade shows since then. And just always impressed with the way you've carried yourself. And we'll get into that a little bit as we go through the episode. I always start with the same question. Storage, such a niche industry. You obviously, with your incredible work at the storage manager, a big part of this industry. I want to know what led you to get into storage. How did you find yourself in this asset class?
Well, I mean, in some ways it's unique and in some ways it's very not. It kind of tripped and fell into my lap. So I was pregnant with my oldest son and we had saved enough. I was working in assisted living and going to college. We'd saved enough so I could be home for that first year. And it was like, okay, after that, all bets are off. And one of my husband's aunts reached out and sent us a link to a job posting on Facebook. Turns out we knew the couple. It was the Wilds. And funny enough, my last name's Wilda. They're Wild with an E at the end. It was a great connection point there itself. We interviewed with them. They chose us out of a couple of other couples. And the rest is kind of history. I thought it was pretty basic, pretty simple. Learned that it's not. Learned that there's a lot more to it. But it was something that allowed me to be able to stay home with my young son at the time. We obviously had another one a little bit later. While going to school, being a stay-at-home mom, it kind of fit everything that we needed at the time and turned into a career.
I'm so interested to dig in a little bit about your attitude and the way you approach this industry. I see you at trade shows and you know a lot of people. You're always infectious. You always have a smile on your face. What is it about this industry that kind of drew you into it, and what's led you to operate the way that you do with the energy that you do?
I think a lot of it comes to how I approach everything in my life. I was always, go all the way back to high school. I graduated a year ahead of my class because I knew that I wanted to do more. I knew that there was more that could be done. And I wanted the opportunity to get to explore that and use my mind in a different way that wasn't commonplace. And so from the time I was young, now still obviously it continues. It's why be negative when you can be positive when there's a lot of everything going on. Sometimes it's easier to start seeing the negative things and to think a little bit more realistically. But I found through my life as I've approached things like, oh no, I want to do this better. I want to find a different way to approach this. This is something that I need to know. This is something that I can teach someone. Why not? Why not go out and form those relationships? Starting in assisted living, I love the elderly. They have a very tender spot in my heart. My mom was a CNA growing up. I remember going over there after school and there was nothing else to do except for sit and talk with these folks. And a lot of them never had families. And so being able to just make their day brighter was something that just kind of carried through to adulthood.
It is interesting to me. My background before I got into self-storage, I ran a martial arts school for many, many years. And my teacher built this kind of success triangle, I call it. And positive attitude was a big piece of it, right? Like self-discipline was a focus, and non-quitting spirit, don't give up. But we talked about having a positive attitude all the time in our classes and with our students. You kind of embody that, right? That idea of like, hey, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to be a victor. I'm going to figure out how to do better and how to be better and put a smile on my face. I'm intrigued to know, and maybe you know, maybe you don't, but where do you think that came from with you? Because that's not, quite frankly, that's not a trait that most people come by naturally.
So there's a lot that goes into this. And I'm happy to tell the story now because obviously it shaped who I am. When I was very young, there were people that had chosen to take advantage of me. And I went and I was talking with one of my best friends. Her name was Catherine. And her mom looked at me because she knew the situation and she was like, okay, well, are you going to be a victim or are you going to be a survivor? And it was at that point in my life that I was like, I'm not going to be a victim. I am going to be a survivor and I'm going to show everyone what I'm actually capable of instead of letting this affect my entire life. And choosing that by itself was, hey, you know what? We're going to go into everything. We're going to be headstrong about it. I knew what I wanted and I knew that I could get it. It was just, how am I going to get there? Who can help me? What does that actually look like?
It's, I'm honored that you would share that story with me, it's incredible to me. And I guess one of the things I would ask then is, how powerful has it been for you in your life to have those people who kind of mentor and kind of put those types of questions to you?
Extremely. I very firmly believe that the people that have come into my life have come into my life for a purpose, and I treat everyone with that same respect. Whether it's the neighbor across the street, whether it's the person I run into at the gas station, if there's a chance that I can make someone's day a little better, then I will. And the people that have mentored me along the way have also taken that opportunity and showed me that same respect. Hey, I see that you can do this. I'm going to build you into this. I'm going to show you the way to get there. I'm going to introduce you to these people. I mean, look at Gary, my boss, just as a perfect example of this. When we ran into each other, I was looking for a job. I knew I wanted to stay in storage. I wanted to continue to grow my career and continue to build that. Him and Diane really took that. And there hasn't been a day where Gary's been like, hey, you've been absolutely perfect today. You've really shown like this has been great. It's, hey, you did really good at this. Now let's see what else we can do that's better. Like, let's see what else you can put your mind to and what else you can fix. And that has meant the world. Like, the day we met, he was introducing me to people and, hey, I'm going to hire this person. We're going to work together. And, these are the things that I see that she could do.
I'm always interested in this. I got into storage 4 years ago, and kind of like you, I'm on my third job in storage, and will try forever to stay in this industry. For you, what was it about self storage that made you want to stay in the industry?
Every single day is different and every single day is a challenge. But not only that, coming from my background, my parents both aren't extremely wealthy folks. My mom is a nurse. My dad works for a local college, and they are the most stalwart people I know. Like, I truly love my parents. And the opportunity for me to be able to create wealth, not just for me and my little family, but to be able to help them so one day they can retire for all the support that they've shown me was number one. I knew that I can get into this, I can be successful at it. It will keep my family going. It keeps food on the table. I love the people in it. I know that there's always going to be something that I can do or help inspire or to help change or to help grow. And so that hit kind of every single mark I had. If you would have asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I wanted to be a victim witness advocate in the court system to be able to help those victims. And, it kind of transpired into this. And I think one day I'll go back to that. But for now, this is everything I ever could have dreamed of and more.
Talk to me a little bit about the storage manager and you guys' philosophy and what it is you're seeking to do when you have clients that you're managing their portfolio or their individual assets for.
So, the storage manager, while we are third party management, there's a lot of those out there right now. A lot of people trying to get into that, a lot of people continuing to build those. We're a little bit different. We want owners who are ready to hand off their facility, let someone else handle the day to day, and really partner with them on that. We want to know the end goal for your facility so we can help bring that into fruition. We want to work with you, have an idea in mind so we can get plans together, have a great pathway of communication for issues and repairs that might be happening at a facility, and really take it forward. We don't want to be the biggest company. We're not looking to have, 200 plus facilities. We want to stay under that. We want to make sure that we maintain that personal touch on every facility where we can actually monitor it and run it as if it were our own. Because as owners and operators first, that is our priority.
Tell me what that looks like in 2025 and maybe how that's a little bit different than it even was when you first got into the industry. What are you seeing that's changing as far as what it looks like to really operate a facility in 2025 to the highest level that it can be?
Wow.
That's
this
a
is a
pretty
fun
I was an
question. It's
open-ended question for a reason.
exactly.
I
It's
kind of wanted
very
you to go
fun
where you want to go.
because it looks different for every facility, and that's just the honest truth. So when we're looking at these facilities, we're looking at the day-to-day, exactly how they're run, what's going on at them, what market factors are really going to play into this facility and how it performs. So for us, it's as much tech that works together as possible, making sure that the systems we have in place are strong and continuing to evolve with the industry because it does change. The industry has changed from last year, from the year before, and we want to make sure that we're on the forefront of that. We want to make sure that we are innovating everything internally to make sure that it puts forth the result that we want to see at these facilities. So if we have a facility that's underperforming, it's okay, is it marketing? Is it the market? What can we do to impact this? And how do we put it into play? We're not just one size fits all, kind of shoving the shoe on and saying, good luck, we're going to make it work. It's okay, we have these systems that work for every facility. Now, what does this one need specifically? And how do we give it that attention?
I'm interested to pick your brain because you're on the forefront of this with some of the tools that you've seen and some of the kind of as we're getting more and more technology coming into the industry that are really starting to permeate and become go-tos that maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago even didn't even exist. What are you seeing that's really kind of transitioning the self-storage industry, especially on the management side, into that next generation of what our industry is going to look like?
I think one of the big things that first comes to mind is the technology that we use to handle the maintenance and boots on the ground tasks at these facilities, whether you do have a manager on site or you don't. Notify is one of those technologies that has helped us so much. It has been so game changing to be able to have that as a resource. Storage Defender coming in and making it so easy to just clip a motion detector into a unit, and it's a smart unit. The tenant now has access to see if there's any motion in their unit. That's incredible. Um, Different management softwares coming out. I know that internally we've been testing a lot, trying to see which ones work, which ones don't, really refine that process and see what works with the technologies that we want to use. Spider Door, my favorite gate system. I will shamelessly plug that in here. Um, they have been fantastic to work with. Their product performs exactly how we need it to, and it's so simple. Um, but really making sure that everything is cohesive and just sticks together and works. It's a lot more technology based than I thought we would be, just because we do have older people that use our facilities, but they seem to be adapting because there's not really a choice anymore.
Find this fascinating. One of the things that I've been amazed by and never knew, like I'm not a technology guy. I've taught martial arts before I got into self-storage and I'm on the sales side of storage, but is that you talked about the integration, right? And something I didn't know what API even meant. I still don't really know what it means, but this idea of one technology working together with another technology, things that we think, hey, my iPhone can do it. Why can't these two technologies work together? But to your point that this is a part of the challenge as you're going through storage management in 2025 is, the storage defender has to work with Spider and it has to work with my software management system. And that's not always necessarily as easy as you might like it to be.
Well, and your staff has to really understand the why behind all of these things too and how they do work together. Because if not, then it's easy to say, "Oh no, this doesn't actually work," or "Oh no, we need to do something different." When really if you're educating and you're teaching and you're trying to make sure that everyone understands the why behind what you're using, then it brings together a different level of understanding. And that's been huge, especially within our company is, hey, this is why we're using this software. Hey, this is why we're looking at this report is because it's giving us these numbers. And this is something we pay attention to. And so that way their wheels start turning. It allows for a little bit more of that innovation, allows us to keep on the front of everything. And it's really fun.
Love that. I'm going to actually pick your brain. Obviously, you mentioned Notify, and I got your number. I've known you, and I know, I know who you are, and I could have messaged you on LinkedIn, but Jessie Lamb, I got your number directly from her, and she and Jacob Pandel have both been on Stories Behind the Door before. So shout out to the great folks at Notify. I'm going to get you to introduce me to the folks at Storage Defender because I haven't been able to make that connection yet. So I'm going to leverage you a little bit to maybe have another future guest on the Stories Behind the Door podcast. One of the things I love about this industry, so many amazing people, and Spider Door too, for that matter.
Yes.
I want to pivot a little bit because one of the things that you've been very involved in, I was just talking to Stan Bonilla before I got on the call with you today, vice president at Safeguard Self Storage out of New York, super involved on the board of the New York SSA. You have been involved on the national level of the SSA. I think it's called the Young Leaders Group. I may be massacring that a little bit, but that's something you've been involved in and see your presence at these various SSA events. That's not something that somebody pays you to go do. That's something where you're donating your time and giving back to the industry. I want to ask you, why has that been important to you and what has led you to donate that time?
So being young in storage is a little bit different of an animal than I thought it would be. I noticed like there was kind of this weird little rift that I had noticed and it was trying to piece it together and I'm like, "Okay, I see these people that are just these dynamos in storage that have been here for so long that know everything there is to know and they're smart and they're intelligent and I love to just sit there and pick their minds and I can talk to them all day." And then it was kind of us younger folks and it was, "Okay, well how do we get from here to there? Where how do we bridge that gap?" And that's when I came across the Young Leaders Group. So you didn't butcher it, you're right on par. Um, and I went to their event fall 2, 3 years ago, something like that. And I was immediately struck and excited to talk with people that were kind of in the same phase of their career, same phase in storage, where we're learning and we're growing and we see that path to get there. And after talking with everyone, I knew that I wanted to be a part of it. So I joined a committee because you need to be on a committee for 1 year before they let you serve on the Senate. And I wanted to be there. I said, "Okay, those are the senators. That's the next step. That's how I get there." And worked on the committee. I was with Alyssa Stokel, Jamie Burrows, um, Alana Ross was in there still, Andrew Compranos, all of those amazing folks. And I knew that I wanted to be in their sphere. I knew that they had things that they could teach me. And when that all came together, I joined the Senate, which was amazing. I'm on my second year coming up through 2025. And just a great opportunity to help see how we are helping shape the industry, the education that is provided, how we all work together. It's just 10 out of 10.
If somebody's newer in the self storage industry and they want to get involved in the YLG, how do they go about doing that?
So it's super easy. They just need to jump on the SSA website. There's a little tab for Young Leaders Group. You'll click on it, you'll fill out the application. I believe we still have dues off for the next year, which is an amazing gift for us to be able to do that. Send in the paperwork. If you want to get involved, join a committee. We have marketing, sponsorships, education, events. Join a committee and get involved and see how it all works behind the scenes because we work by helping everyone else get better too. So we want to see everyone's involvement so we can get the best education. What are people struggling with? How can we help you continue to develop into a leader? And get into those positions within the SSA that we're all heading to.
I'm going to broaden this question a little bit to a bigger level, but in your estimation, what's the importance of organizations like the SSA, and what is it that they're doing for the industry that you find it motivating to you to go and be involved in for you, it's the Young Leaders Group aspect of it. But what is it about the organization that you find is relevant enough and important enough for you to donate your time?
The SSA is looking out for everyone. And that seems like a very blanket statement, but it's true. There's on a national level, they're looking out for, legislation that comes at that level. They're looking out for each individual state organization. They're looking out for the things that can come in that would cause us to become more regulated and helping us stay on the backside of that by making sure that we're still being fair in the things that we're doing with our practices, but also encouraging us to do things a little different, do things a little better, and continue to help operators be able to have their facilities succeed. That's the bottom line. Everyone succeeds together. There's a share of knowledge, there's a share of, connections and community, and they make it possible for all of us to be able to talk, at least that twice a year. And, in between that, you form friendships, you form bonds, your network grows, and you have those people that you can go to for questions.
Well, from me to you, I just want to say thank you. That time that you give to go contribute in the way that you do is, I think I understand that inherently how important organizations, whether it's the national SSA or on a state level, are to the continued success of our industry. And this is an industry obviously I love and have been so passionate about since I first got into it. So thank you. That time that you donate it means something. So I'm very grateful for you taking the time to do that. I'm going to transition into my next question, which is one of the reasons I'm so grateful. Your family is incredibly important to you. I know how valuable and important your kids are in your life. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. You balance this incredible contribution you give to our industry while at the same time knowing how important your family is to you.
I mean this with the sincerity of my heart. I couldn't do it without our families. There For every conference, there's either my husband taking, afternoons off work to pick up the kids, or my mother-in-law flying into town, my mom flying into town now that we're out of Idaho. And that's where our family was kind of centered on. So it was a little easier while we were there. But behind all of that, too, my husband is very supportive, very much like, hey, you go chase your dream. I'm chasing mine. Like, we come back, we do this together. Like, we know that the only way we both succeed is to do it together. And that has been that was kind of a game-changing moment for both of us. I mean, everyone knows when you have two little kids, you're kind of in the trenches every single day. You're fighting for your life, and that's a very minimal way to put it. As much as you love
Uh,
them, we're finally at a point. Our kids are now 6 and 8, and so they understand and they have a lot better picture. I've taken my oldest with me to go do site visits in Minnesota. He and I drove some signage out there to one of our facilities last year from Idaho, and we got to road trip together. It was really fun, and he still talks about it. And he was out there with a little can of weed spray, spraying weeds while I was, doing audits and stuff. And we all just work together, and the kids understand, like, hey, oh, mom's going on a work trip. Okay, well, she'll be back Friday, then we'll see her around then. And until then, we'll have dad and grandma or dad or whatever it may be. And it's really cool, I think, for us to, and by us, I mean my husband and I, to see our kids understanding and respecting that and showing them, like, hey, it's possible to have a nice balance. And it's not perfect. It's never perfect. But the fact that we can do this together and we have each other's support is phenomenal.
I'm blown away by that. And I'm going to spend a couple seconds talking about it because, I've been married now for 14 years. I married into two kids. So I have a 24 and a 19 and a 14-year-old. And it's work, right? It's a choice. It's not people talk about, love being a feeling. No, love is a choice. And so kudos to you and your husband because choosing to support that other person in their dreams and then get that support back is something that I would love to see more of in our world, right? People that are really making that conscious choice that your family is a choice. And yes, it's nice when you get that support from those people outside, but it's a choice I know you make as well going the other way. So really, really cool to hear that story I'm glad I asked the question now because I think that's a message that we need to spread more that marriage is foundational in our country. It's been something that I think is wildly important to raising kids that grow up in that environment. So I love the way you phrase that, like, hey, it's a choice. And it's important that we have this balance, right? It's not
Well,
always perfect. It doesn't always work as easy as you might like, but it's something that you find a way to make work.
exactly. Well, and my husband and I, both of our parents are divorced. So we've seen them remarry, we've seen them choose to stay single. We've seen like this melting pot of how that can affect someone's life. And we were like, you know what? Before we even got married, we will have been together for 10 years in January and married for 10 years in October of next year, married for 9 this year. And before we even got to that point, it was, hey, the only way we're going to get through this is together. We have to make sure that we're communicating. We have to make sure we're talking about things. And there's definitely been periods in there because, like I mentioned, we were both still in school. Like, I was pregnant with our first 6 months into getting married. He was a fun little surprise, but that definitely changed
I
things.
have one of those too.
If things had gone according to plan, we would have just barely been having our first. And now we're so glad that it didn't because we have these amazing little boys that are now just our best buddies. They're so fun. They're so funny to watch too. Like they build storage facilities with their Legos because they know that's what mom does. But then my youngest, he thinks it's cool that dad gets to drive a big green truck to work every day. And that's his favorite part too. So
Love it. I'm going to transition back. And again, thanks for being so vulnerable and sharing about your family and some of the things that have gone on in your life. I am deeply, deeply grateful for that. I want to go back to a little bit, amazing as it is, we're almost to the half hour mark. And I try and honor that half hour, not only for you and your time, but for people so they can really absorb and listen in a time frame that works. I want to go back a little bit and kind of pick your brain about this obviously is going to air the first week of 2026. We're taping this the last week of 2025. Sydnie Wilda, managing storage facilities for the storage manager. What do you see 2026 looking like? What's some advice you might give to owners about things they need to be staying on top of, maybe things that are going to be critical as we move into 2026?
I would say as you're going through 2026, really think about your end goal for your facility, not just what you've put down on your pro formas, not just what you're looking at over the next few years. Really look at the end goal for your facility and what you're trying to get out of it. Look at the reasoning why, is it to invest in the next thing? Is it to, pay off your house, whatever it may be? Really look at the reason you have your facilities and see if what you have is working. Because if it's not, you need to make a change. The big thing with that is I've seen a lot of owners transitioning to self-management because they feel like they've been let down by management companies. I've heard a lot of talk about that, which, as a third-party management company is scary hearing what's going on in the industry. But looking at it where we are at is this is an opportunity for people to really see their facilities and see what's going on and be hands-on, because then they're going to really understand like, hey, this is what management companies are doing. This is what they're dealing with every day on a much broader scale, whether it's break-ins, door repairs, gates. Oh, gates. Like there's so many more things that factor into it than just the spreadsheet and the pen and paper. There's real people behind it. There's real market factors that go into it. So just take a step back and look at your facility and the goals you have and make sure that you have a pathway to meet those. Make sure that you're working with the people you need to. Make sure you're talking with people in the industry so they can see what's going on. Because if we're all communicating all the issues that we have, then we can work together to find better solutions. If you're holding the problems close to your chest because you're like, oh, this is too big and this is too scary, it's not. Take a step back and talk with someone about it, because if it's, hey, I'm not hitting this. Hey, my rent increases are scaring people out of my facility. Hey, I'm too scared to put in tenant protection. Guys, it's okay. Talk to some of us experienced people that have been there and done it, because we will give you the exact guidebook on how to get there.
Sydnie Wilda, cannot thank you enough for coming and spending a half hour. Now I'm even more upset with myself that I didn't get you on the podcast sooner. Somebody wants to get a hold of you, your email. My guy Eric behind the scenes, man, he takes care of me. I'm blessed to have him help me out. He just threw your email up there. Somebody wants to get a hold of Sydnie to talk about management, cannot more highly suggest her. And she never managed a store for me, full disclosure, but just as the human being you are, the energy level that you carry, I could not more highly recommend somebody reach out, say hello, pick her brain. And if you are looking for a management company, have that conversation with her. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and look forward to running into you at the various events we appear at.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak.
Absolutely my pleasure. That's it for this week's episode of the Stories Behind the Door podcast. We'll see you guys next week.